What's going on, people? Welcome to the United Stand. Welcome to another show, the afternoon show. Me and Owen are back again. Owen, so much to talk about.
So much.
Long night last night, bro. How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm still trying to process it all, to be honest. I don't know about you, like Flex. When I everything sort of, I say calm down because it hasn't calmed down. But when I tried to go to bed last night, I couldn't sleep. I literally couldn't sleep because I just thought, well, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? It just felt like every other second there was going to be something different, something new, some new release, all that. It's crazy, but it's a different kind of crazy to what it was 48 hours ago. 48 hours ago, we thought it was crazy because we thought it might be the end of the football. It's a different kind of crazy now because it might be the new, better version of football that we've dreamed of, especially when it comes to Man United. So it's good. It's a good crazy at the moment.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely nuts, and it's like it's the inquest can start, and that's what we're going to start by talking about. We're going to talk about Ed Woodward, obviously staying until the summer and not until the end of the year, like he said. We're going to talk about Edward van der Sar. We're going to talk about some of Nicky Butt's comments. We're going to talk about the protests as well coming up at Old Trafford on the weekend. We'll be up there. I'll be up there. I think it's important that all fans are united now. We're going to talk about the next steps. And that's not saying us here at the United Stand are behind that, but we're supporting in terms of all us fans need to come together and we need to put everything aside. There's so much in-house fighting you can have, not fighting, disagreements between fans and stuff. And what we've absolutely proved is that when you come together, like I was saying at the end of last show, if you come together, you prove like what you can get done. Manchester Evening News are coming up with quotes here saying Ed Woodward is expected to leave Manchester United this summer rather than December 21. So what we did learn, Owen, although we was all celebrating and saying cheers and stuff on the stream and you take it down, what we starting to realize is that it looked like he was always going to leave very soon. And this just was accelerated by the shit show of the ESL. What's your thoughts now that he's going to stay to the summer? I read that there's talks of him trying to repair the relationships with the other clubs. He's still going to be in charge of transfers or an input up into the summer. How do you see it all now?
Well, I mean, there's loads of different perspectives to look at it from, isn't there? The one perspective, like you said, when it comes to the summer, when it comes to transfers, legitimately, what does that mean? Now that we know that the Super League isn't going ahead, now that we know, and we don't know if there's going to be any ramifications that are coming, but when it comes to all of that, what does that mean in terms of his involvement in transfers, his involvement in signing off on things? I think him going in the summer makes sense. I mean, to be honest, if he went today, no one would have a problem with it. If he was going to stay to the end of the year anyway, that didn't make any sense. He's a lame duck as it is. He was a lame duck when they signed up to the Super League because thankfully, I mean, there was concerns that people would do. They would force it through, but he was a lame duck as soon as they put it in because his positions, like many of those owners, has become completely untenable now. So the idea he was going to stay to the end of the year, to be honest, was ludicrous. If he could go tomorrow, that would be great. The issue is, and I mentioned this last night on the stream, that Man United is they're as fans, we hate to say it, but they're bigger than just a football club. We're a business at this point, and you don't have your chief executive, your CEO leave or have plans to leave without there being a succession plan, without there being a plan of who's going to replace him and all that stuff. That is very meticulous. In the same way that whilst the playing staff and the players might not have known about the Super League plans, don't get me wrong, have been very, very meticulous, just really, really poorly executed, thank God.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Ed Woodward's departure, whilst we can celebrate it and whilst we can, it's a good thing, there are definitely still, they've got contingency plans. They've got people that are planned to succeed him. So again, the end of the year stuff, to be honest, it's not much of a surprise that he's going to go in the summer, because why would you stay to the end of the year anyway? And this idea about him trying to mend fences.
How's he going to do that?
What can he mend? He can barely mend a transfer budget. He can barely mend a transfer. He can barely be parts of Old Trafford. When was the last time Old Trafford had redevelopment? Let alone mend fences. What ludicrous.
Exactly. It's true. I don't know what kind of good can come from Ed Woodward in that time. Repairing, even Graham Potter was like, be cautious. Like, don't just think because they've said sorry, of which we haven't even said sorry yet.
No.
Because some of these lot have backed out of it, that all is well. It's not well. The Times are reporting that Ed Woodward has been identified as an architect of the plot to set up the European Super League, with members of the 14 excluded Premier League clubs calling for him to be sanctioned by the FA at an emergency meeting yesterday. And you see, this is the bit that, in the fallout of this, which, like I said, the inquest can come later. We just had to enjoy that it stopped. But actually, when you deep it, it's not that good right now. It's not that good because we discussed what it would be like, or the notion of what it would be like if there was a reversal in this decision. Now we've got the reversal in this decision. Now we're stuck with, mate, you played your hand. We know what you're about. And to know that we were at the forefront of this with the Glazers, and most importantly, Ed Woodward, the real driving force behind that, like the Times are saying. The rest of the league, look at us like we're vermin. Our club, you would like, we're hated a dog never ignored. But we say that for footballing reasons. We're Man United, we're the biggest. People are jealous. We win titles. Our success is what has brought that jealousy, which you can that's within football. That's fine. We don't like Liverpool because they got 6 European titles. You know, it's based off the success and other things as well, but mainly that. But what this is like, it's like we're going to be seen as just a real leeching, horrible club. Like, you tarnished the name of our club, and Ed Wood was at the spearhead of that.
Yeah, and also as well, it's got to spark a catalyst for change. Like you said, the inquest can continue, and we can celebrate that the Super League isn't going to happen, and we can celebrate that Ed Woodward's out. But it has to be a spark of the catalyst for more. We can't be happy that we got what we wanted, because realistically, we haven't got everything that we've wanted yet when it comes to that.
Exactly.
And I see these apologies coming out by all of these other. Well, I see an apology coming out from Henry at Liverpool, and Arsenal said they're sorry in their statement. I don't think it was Kroenke that necessarily said that, but all of these apologies, I know I see some, to be honest, bless football fans, because some people are so willing to forgive. They're better people than me, because I see that and you roll your eyes at them. You go, oh, I'm really sorry I did a bad thing. Sorry isn't enough. Sorry isn't enough. And when it comes to Ed Woodward, I would be stunned, to be honest, if he said sorry. But it's not enough. And as I mentioned, this has to be a catalyst. We can't just be content with what we've got now. It's got to be a real spearhead for change, whether that's government involved or whatever. It has to be a spearhead for change.
It does. And just the cowardness behind this. The Athletic are reporting that Ed Wood would confirm reports of the European Super League to Solskjaer once the team sheets had been handed in for United's game against Burnley on Sunday. Solskjaer is said to have cut the conversation short to concentrate on preparing for the game. And you know what? I can believe that. One thing I do respect from this massively, and you only need to look at how Liverpool handled it because they were the first game. You could see that Jurgen Klopp and his players have been kept in the dark. You could see from our players' tweets and social media posts, from whether it would be Bruno, Rashford or Shaw, Harry Maguire, obviously being the spearhead behind the scenes. You could see that players were absolutely not part of this. You could see it. No. You could see it. And you know what? The cowardness behind the likes of Ed Wood was to spring that on Ollie before a game, whilst we're trying to prepare in the moment of a game. You know, the team sheet's just gone in. By the way, I've just signed up to this European Super League that shits on all the football and all the smaller clubs. What? Yeah. Mate, I'm trying to work out whether Mason's starting or not. What's going on?
It's ludicrous. I mean, and these stories about Ed Woodward, they're trickling out over time. Do you remember the story when it came to Rio Ferdinand and his contract?
Yes.
When he played that final game, and then Ed Woodward goes in the change room, sits down, puts his arm around him. "You're all right, Rio. By the way, we're not re-signing you next season. You can leave." What? You kidding me? Where's your time in here? And it's just, and if that is accurate, then that just sums him up, because he doesn't care what happens on the pitch. If he cared what happened on the pitch, he would care about the result that day. He didn't care about the result that day because he didn't care about the manager, obviously. And what's Ollie meant to do there? Is he not meant to? I would hope he didn't tell the players, because how can you prepare for a match when suddenly, oh, by the way, we're killing football in the background. Go out there, win the game. It's ludicrous. And he's a chief exec, he's a CEO. That's no way to manage any kind of organization. It's good riddance. Get out.
Yeah, get out. A super chat here from Gabriel Noel says, after 8 years of consistent failure, it was Ed's trump card that finally got him out the club. It just laments how poor a football exec he was, 100%. And Sam Walton says, Van der Sar would be the ideal replacement for Woodward, but there's no chance he'd leave Ajax to come and work for the Glazers. And you know what? This is the next bit now, because, okay, Ed Woodward's going to leave the football club. He got hounded out. He understood that. He understood that he needed to go, and it was untenable. The Times have reported here that Ed Woodward will spend the remainder of his time at Man United trying to build trying to build bridges with the 14 Premier League clubs who were left out of the European Super League proposals. What's he going to do? Ring Fulham and say, "Oh, hey guys, yeah, I'm leaving in the summer. I just thought I'd give you a quick ring. Try repair a couple bridges because you never got invited to the ESL. Oh, hey Graham Potter. Yeah, Brighton, you're a great club, smashing guys. You guys are down there. Yeah, sorry, we didn't invite you. What do you mean repair bridges? Like, fuck off.
He's going to ring up Sean Dyche. Go, did you get that gift basket I left in the post for you? You're happy with me? You're happy with me now? You're happy with Man United? To be honest, all of these like smaller clubs, you know, they don't like Man United anyway. And like you said, maybe that's success. Maybe that's because you're a bigger club. Maybe because that's the riches. Now, if there was any doubt that they won't like us, you know, from a fan level to a boardroom level. And we talked about transfers earlier. Who wants to do business with Man United now? Who wants to do business with these just terrible owners? You know, all of this everything has a knock-on effect. Everything has a knock-on effect. Build bridges. I'd be surprised if he took his phone call.
Exactly. That's true. They'll probably leave him on red or just not answer 100% because, you know, or if he reaches out via email, what's your response going to be, mate? You just tried to shit on me last week.
Junk mail.
Yeah, 100%. I hope he goes to the spam. Gavin Allen says, any chance the Glazers sell players and pocket the cash? Would you put it past them? I honestly, and that's it. Let's talk about the Glazers because, like I said, Ed Woodward is the face of this. He is the puppet for the Glazers, and I don't mean like a good puppet. Like people say Ollie's a puppet for the Glazers because he can't call them out, and I don't mean like that. But I mean he's their mouthpiece. He's their little mole that they get to do all their dirty work to make things happen. And they finance it. You know, it's under their instruction. It's under their say so. But he's gone. But the Glazers, you know, and this is where, like you said, about reform needs to come in. If the Glazers aren't challenged, if the Glazers aren't taken out of power, and there isn't some serious change to how football clubs are owned in this country, we got a massive problem. Because we can talk about Van der Sar coming in, which is great. You know, we can talk about, you know, trying to bring David Gill back or whoever it is, trying to get a great CEO and trying to take the club in the right direction. Under the Glazers, we've seen it doesn't work. Look who they hired the first time.
Exactly. And that's the thing when it comes to Van der Sar or David Gill, like you said, they're great names. They're absolutely fantastic names. And they would be so good for Man United because they understand the ethics, the morals, the history of the club. They would be fantastic. But you have to almost deal in reality there, don't you? Edwin van der Sar was one of the people to lead the meetings of clubs in UEFA that were against the Super League.
Yeah.
Why on earth would he sell his soul and work for the Glazers at this point? He wouldn't. I mean, he loves Man United, but I'm sure he has, you know, like I said, morals and all that kind of stuff. So whilst it would be fantastic, it's about getting the Glazers out first before we can really, you know, you have to cut the cancer out of the club before you start to heal. And that's what they still are. Ed Woodward's gone, that's a tick. But the Glazers, they're still there. And that's the next step. And maybe this whole backing out, I think the issue now is that when it comes to the government side and the political side of things, they've opened a lot of eyes, and that people that might not have been paying attention to the future are definitely paying attention now because they want to ensure that this can't happen again. Maybe we got lucky this time. Maybe the fan opinion forced, they showed their hands and fan opinion forced them to backtrack. But could that happen again in the future? And I think now is the time to put in these preventative measures to say, look, if you try this and again, you can't even try it in the future. It's not even on the table. Remove any option from the table. And that's what they're worried about, the Glazers now, because obviously United's just a big cash cow to them. So they're thinking at this point, oh my God, that we might have even more of our money taken away if the government or some form of legislation gets involved, which it should. As I mentioned, it's got to be a catalyst for change. It's got to be.
It does. I'm seeing some reports here. Well, definitely Real Madrid have confirmed the signing of David Alaba on a 5-year deal, and Liverpool, I think, have confirmed that Konate has joined them as well. I'm looking for an official tweet from Liverpool, but I'm seeing it a lot circulating on football Twitter, and it's from quite a few people actually. So there's a lot there. But this is where it starts. This is where it starts because it's, you know, as football fans, we always say that line of, as football fans, we're fickle, and this is where we have to be really careful because, you know, I watched John Henry's video to the fans, and don't get me wrong, I said, look, the Glazers aren't going to sit in front of a camera and apologise to us. At least he had the balls, but he's talking out his ass. Like, let's not,
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
He said a line of, you know, even though we made a mistake, we were still acting on the best interests of the club. No, you weren't. No, you wasn't. No. You're lying. You're only pissed off you got caught. and it didn't work. And now what you're going to see is what's the best way to appease the fan? If Liverpool buy Mbappe during this transfer window and then win the Premier League next season, you know, they're all will be forgotten about is what they're hoping. If we go and sign Haaland now and keep Paul Pogba and sign Varane, you know, you know, maybe this is the no, you can't just try and appease us like this. And that's what I think is massive here. Exactly. Flux says Liverpool will sign Konate for 32 million. Arinda says, do you think other clubs will deal with us on transfers now after this, which is what Owen was just talking about? Who wants to work with us? Matt Hurt, thank you for the contribution. Arvin says, gather around, kids. Here comes the Woodward apology tour. Yeah, exactly. And Gavin Allen says, any chance the Glazers would sell players to pocket cash, wouldn't put it past them. I have read that one already. And that, you know, that I think we will start to see that. You know, Real Madrid, Perez, you parasite. You was alongside Ed Woodward and Joel Glazers at the spearhead of what's going on. Yeah, you were right up there. And then what do? The next day, I'll be fuming if I was a Real Madrid fan. You announced Alaba on a 5-year deal.
Oh, talk about a smokescreen. You know, look in this direction. Don't look over here. Don't look at the, you know, inferno that is our football club or is football in general. Look at we got Alaba. What does he think he's walking into as well? Realistically, because to be honest, that deal's probably been done a while, right? That deal's probably been negotiated for months at this point. What he must be thinking at this point? Whoa! What am I walking into? Seriously, what am I walking into? And it's a bit like Ed Woodward. I'm glad that he's obviously resigned, and I'm glad that he's brought it forward twice now, I guess. But at the end of the day, like you said, he's a ringleader and he's running away from the inferno. He lit the flame, set it on fire, and then once it started to get too hot, ran away. I'm sorry, and tried to build the bridges that he burned on the way out. It's cowardice. It's cowardice. Cowardice by bullies.
I can see 100% by bullies. Great point. And I can just see it now. I can see it. Well, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much at our club, because even with this happening, you still probably couldn't trust them to get anything right with transfers. Because actually, what I did realize, you know, when you said you couldn't sleep and stuff like that, and like it was just crazy. Like as you kind of put your head on your pillow and you start to work out what's actually going on and comprehend it, and then you wake up first thing on the TV. There's more coming in. It's Tom Hayder says in Henry's video he never mentioned Liverpool, just LFC, and he never said our club. It was your club. Shows how dejected the owners are from it all. Well, yeah, it was. You know, they use a lot of, you know, big language, but we know where it's coming from. It's coming from a place of shit. I got caught and shit. It didn't work. Ronald Jacobs says Pogba signed for 4 years. They would sign Varane, Rice. None of this would happen. Glazers don't care about us. They never ever have, and they never will. And I've read that as well. But yeah, what I was saying is if we look at what's gone on, I actually really do feel it for the players. I do. Because I was basically saying, like, yeah, I would take us getting kicked out of this competition, you know, points deduction, stuff like that. We had Nicky Butt as well, who was talking, and we got his comments up on screen now as well. You know, he said that this. He said what happened should never have happened. What happened is the worst case of bullying, in my opinion, from powerful people. Whether they apologize or not, it's irrelevant to me. And if you watch that interview that Nicky Butt gave, you can hear in his voice as well, like how pissed off he is.
You must hear it in his voice.
Do you know what I mean?
See it in his face. He is, I mean, seething does not even describe it. He looked absolutely furious. And I think he represented every single football fan around the world. If you honestly, I would recommend anyone go and watch it, because it is so telling. And that's a guy that's been inside the organization, if you will. That's the guy that's maybe had some interactions, well, definitely with Ed Woodward, but maybe even with the Glazers. He's been there so long. So he's just, you know, he was seething.
He was seething. He goes on to say, I don't see how it's possible, really. It's very difficult, really, to gain someone's trust. This is after they asked him, could the owners win the trust back off us, i.e. the Glazers. It's very difficult to get someone's trust after going behind people's backs for so long. It's going to be very difficult for them to do that, which is build the fans' trust. They don't know how they do it, but that's something that they've got to try and work out. And literally, when you see him say that, it's different. Me just reading it, you have to go watch it to get a feel, because he's like, oh, I don't know how they do it, mate. Like, it's a disgrace. It's basically he feels like every one of us, and that's just it. I really feel for the players, because they have worked really hard this year. You know what I mean? To you know, yeah, we can talk about performances and we can talk about McFred, and it feels like years ago since we've spoken about the team. It feels weird even saying it now, and I'm not even going to.
I know.
And because the players have really stood up, and I don't mean just our players, I mean all players, because they have stood up. I'm not even going to go into that. I'm really, really proud of all the players. But you know, I do feel it for them, because why should they get kicked out? You know, they didn't sign up for this. Ollie didn't sign up for this. You know, we got a Europa League semi-final. I know we don't want to be in Europa League semi-final, but, you know, and even Manchester City, as much as they're Manchester City and I don't like them, in this case, they've worked their asses off to get to a semi-final too. The same with Chelsea. Their players and their manager, they don't deserve to be kicked out.
No, exactly. I mean, you talk about Ollie, you know, they didn't know anything about it. Didn't know anything about it until just before he handed the team sheets in the Burnley game. He didn't know anything about it. So when it comes to punishments, which there should be, don't get me wrong, we can't let them get away scot-free on this one. But now it's finding after you get into the, you know, how do we look at ownership and all that kind of stuff, then you look into punishments. How do we do it effectively without hurting the players for maybe something they haven't done? You know, there is still so much more to come with all of this, and it's become so complicated now. It's become really, really complex and a really complicated issue.
Yeah, it has. Guys, smash a like on the video. Obviously, subscribe if you're new. I want to go on to talking about the protests now, because I think this is really important. I think the protests are going to be massive, and depending on how many people turn up, how often it's going to be, can't just be a one-off. One thing I do want to make clear is that it's not really necessarily down to whose protest it is. Yeah, I'm not sitting here, and we're not sitting here at the United Stand saying we are at the spearhead front of this. It's not about that. It's not about claiming ownership or one-upmanship, because it's not. We haven't organised it. You know, we just know that there's one going on. But what I want people to know is that we stand with our United family and anyone else who wants to come and protest, even if there was fans from other clubs who came to protest against owners, because it has to be done. It has to be done. Gary Neville said on Monday Night Football at the time, he said, you know, I felt like I could stand in the cop right now, you know, if it was to protest against this, and I'd be all right. You know, Jamie Carragher could come to the Stretford End, you know, and protest. And I know it's a bit different now because it's changed, and now it is about us trying to get our Glazers out. So it's almost like the fans are going to have their own wars with their own owners. I get it. But I just think it's so important that we put ego aside. We put any division aside. This is not about Ollie in, Ollie out, McFred, your favourite players. Martial's not consistent. Paul Pogba, the agent. This is not about any of that. We've seen what happens when we drop everything and come together for one good cause.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen it straight away. And now is the time to do that. We have to kick on, because we need pressure. We need pressure on these owners. So what we do know is that there is a protest going on at Old Trafford at 3 p.m. on Saturday. If you're around the area or you fancy traveling up, do it. Do it. We're going to be there. Obviously, social distancing is going to be part of it. We've got to keep safe and stuff like that. You know, we don't want to be going against that. Wear your mask and stuff like that. But essentially, if you can be part of it, be part of it. You know, don't feel alienated because you're not from Manchester, or you know you're not sure whether you drive up, if you'll be welcomed. This is about putting everything to the side, all egos aside, all little subdivisions that have existed before, and saying, you know what, we're all one, we're all united.
Yeah, and you know, and it has to, I think, also as well, it's a peaceful protest as well. It's obviously with any kind of protest or anything like that.
100%.
Like I said, so social distancing, mask wearing, make sure it's peaceful. And like you kind of touched on earlier, Flex, it's almost not I know it's a Man United specific protest, but it's almost not about that. It's like what you said with Gary Neville saying I could stand in the club, or Jamie Carragher saying I could stand in the Stretford End. It's forget your tribes, forget your teams, almost essentially, because we're protesting not just, I mean, specifically at the Glazers, but we're protesting about this just greed and bullying kind of owners in football that ultimately attempted to destroy it. That's what we're protesting against. We're protesting that we got what we wanted in terms of the reversal of the Super League, but there is still so much more. And it is really important. It is really important. And you can't, if you're a fan of football and if you're a fan of sport, you have to make your voice count for something. And we've proven, and I say we, the collective, we as fans, have proven the last few days that there might have been some thoughts over the years that maybe does my opinion, does my voice really matter? And it's proven that it has. It really does. So that's just, that's so important.
Yeah, it is. It's massively important. And usually when these sorts of things happen, what I've seen in the past, just from the stuff that I've seen go on, is like, maybe this is our protest and we're not part of that group, and I didn't organize it. Who are you? What do you stand for? And all of this. And I don't know. I really understand all the politics of it, and I don't want to get into it, but only because I know it's just not about that. I don't even care. Like, I just know that I love Man United, or you guys love Man United, and if you're able to go and show your solidarity and show your voice, do it. If you're from thousands of miles away, do it on social media, share it, put it out, keep talking about it. Because and also like I did read up on some quotes today from a lot of outlets talking about how the government are so important in this, that they're not looking to let up, they're looking to reform this. And I really do hope so. I really do hope so, because it'll be such a shame if we're left with the Glazers having backtracked in this and they just try and act like everything's normal. When the season comes back when the fans come back next year and Old Trafford's full again, 75,000. Do we do mass walkouts at a certain minute? Do we not go to a few games for a bit? Do we stop buying stuff from the club shop? Or I know that's a very small things, but I'm just brainstorming on the spot. I don't know what the answer is, but what I do know is that we have to do something. Exactly. They can't think they just got off scot-free and everything can go back to normal.
Exactly. The stone's been thrown, hasn't it? The stone's been thrown. And that's what concerned me slightly when it came to the UEFA statements last night, when the club started to pull out going, we welcome them back. We're happy to have them back. It's like, okay, we're happy to have them back. But again, this has got to be a catalyst for change. This has to be a catalyst for change. We won a battle yesterday, but it's still an ongoing war when it comes to this greed and ownership and bullying from owners in football. And we've proven voices matter and opinions matter. And as you mentioned, whether you can attend the protest or not, your voice on social media matters. Social media, Lord knows all the bad stuff we hear about it, but it can be used as a positive forum to actually make change happen and make your voices be heard. So it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important. And when it comes to the government, they are paying attention when maybe they haven't been for a long time. Because when it comes to just a purely economic sort of situation, when you think of obviously with the pandemic and everything that's been going on at the moment, the last thing the government wants to lose is this huge revenue stream that's football. And I know that brings it back to money, and I know it's a bit cold and all that kind of stuff, but they're listening now and their eyes are open when they weren't previously. And they're looking at this going, make sure this doesn't happen again. This can't happen again, and we're going to ensure that it doesn't.
Yeah, 100%. Nicky Butt also went on to say, I think that's how some of these businessmen work. They work in the shadows, if you like, and they do what they think is right. But I think the shocking thing is they can't have empathy for the fans who make the sport so great. 100%. I agree. MPB says, shout out to Owen. Join the channel at a crazy time and speak so well and intelligently. Big up for Owen. There you go.
It's the pencil. It's the pencil.
It is. Keep holding it.
It's the pencil.
Matt Lloyd says, Superheat not wanted to send my message about talking on football governing bodies too. YouTube trying to silence me. Wow, didn't know that. And Nishat says, I wish we could play in the Premier League and Super League and dump the Champions League from next season. I like the idea of the Super League, much more interested than the Champions League. I think that's just you one in the whole of the football community, Nishat. If that's your opinion, that's your opinion. But we're all glad it hasn't happened. And Gustav says, imagine the nerve of Woodward to run around apologizing to the other owners and CEOs when us, the fans, had a single word of encouragement. Haven't had a single word of encouragement. Exactly. And go on.
The best way he can mend bridges and build fences by leaving. They'll be happy to see him leave. They don't want to see him in front of. They don't want to be on the phone to Edward or anything anymore. The best way to rebuild bridges is by someone else completely fresh going, it's a new day at Man United. Don't worry about the old regime. well, we're starting over again. That's how they're going to build fences, because it's irreversible at this point.
Exactly. The best way is to let the new guy or new woman do it.
Yeah.
Because it's irreparable what you've done. They just want to see the back of you. Nicky Butt also went on to say, without the fans, the sport is nothing. To be on the board with the fans, to be on board with what the fans want, that's the alarming thing for me. So it's a lesson to people who come into the country and come into powerful football clubs and think they can do whatever they want because they are the owners. And they are very, very wealthy. Exactly. Nicky Butt speaking facts. Nathan Low 9 says, do you guys believe we can get the Glazers out? I think, do you know what? Us alone, me personally, I don't think us alone can do it. As we saw what happened when the government came into power, came into the conversation, and how much the government did in this, I don't know. But just the mere fact that they were sniffing around it with some serious weight, I think made them shit themselves. Also, yes, UEFA and FIFA started getting involved. I don't know how UEFA and FIFA can get involved with owners and stuff like that. I think that's more of a national legislation sort of thing. But yeah. I don't think, to answer the question, and I don't know what you think, Owen, but I don't think we can get the Glazers out just as ourselves as fans.
Well, if there's anyone that is used to dealing with, negative reaction or anything like that, it's the Glazers. It's, these other clubs, maybe Man City and Chelsea, they were very shocked because they're not used to that kind of stuff. Yeah. Glazers, it's nothing to them.
Good point.
When they get really worried is, like you mentioned, when government starts getting involved, we're going to change the law of how this works. That's how you get them out. Because they have been like this for 15 years or something like that. They don't care about negative fan opinion. They don't. If they did, they would have been gone a really, really long time ago. So I think it wants, but this is the importance, not to write off the fan opinion, because when the fan opinion does actually, I said, open the eyes and wake up the ears of the government, and they start looking, and they are looking now because the stone's been thrown. Anything's possible. I don't think anything's off the table at this point.
Yeah.
And that, but it's going to be major reform, I think, that gets them out.
Mr. Glenn Johnson says, I feel the protests against the Glazers are 100% on point, but I feel like the focus should shift to legislation, which is pretty much what we were talking about there. Get the 50+1 law like Germany has. 100% agree with that. And Kamori Red says, if you support Man United with Glazers here, you are supporting a group who conspire to destroy football. Think about it. Exactly. I do, but with that though, if you support Man United, with the Glazers here, yeah, exactly, because these attacks were on the football clubs by the owners. That these reputations that have been destroyed are not the fans and the players. Jurgen Klopp hasn't come out of this looking bad. The players haven't come out of this looking bad. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The owners are the ones who come out looking bad. Like Jamie Carragher said it on Monday night. This isn't Man United. This isn't Tottenham. This isn't Liverpool. This isn't Arsenal. This isn't Man City. This is, and went on to list all the names of the owners. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the key here.
Well, maybe that's the thing going forward. Maybe that's the thing that instead of when we're talking about these conversations about this club did this and talking about the big six, maybe we don't even refer to them by the club name anymore. It's the Glazers. It's Henry and his group. It's Abramovich. Let's just refer to them by the owners. The Kroenke. Let's refer to them like that, because like you said, it's almost it's the club splitting too, isn't it? It's got nothing to do with the playing staff. It's got nothing to do with the coaches. It's the owners. So maybe when we're talking now going forward about Man United were spearheading the Super League, no. The Glazers and Ed Woodward were spearheading the Super League. There's a difference. And maybe that's what people need to do now. Take the club names out of it. Just let's name and shame these owners every single time. Yeah.
I just saw quickly here, just while I was scanning Twitter, that the Valencia president, Anil Murthy, says the damage has been done from the clubs who joined the European Super League and believes it will come back again in a few years. Basically them kind of going off and working out another way. And that's just it. Another thing about this as well. If you think about what UEFA are going to try and do, they're trying to put forward something less dramatic than this, but still not very good, which is that, the qualification on the Champions League goes on coefficiency points, i.e. we're a big club, we've been in it quite a lot. So if we finish 8th, because we got enough coefficiency points, we still get in there. Yeah. If that happens, we got to come together again and say the same thing.
Well, and also you have to, again, you can't, this is when I think the legislation has to come in, because you can't play into these guys' hands, because if they do this, they do the big UEFA reform, or they change the rules of the Champions League or whatever, suddenly it gives these owners a little bit of power again, going, look, told you so, told you so, told you didn't like that. I know you didn't like us either, but we were slightly justified. You know, we can't give them that option. You can't give them that option. So whether that's UEFA again, taking a look at, just again, this whole thing with it though is, why are we trying to fix something that really isn't that broken? It's really not. Where's suddenly this idea that, oh, everything just needs this giant reform? Don't get me wrong, UEFA and FIFA, they are not squeaky clean by any sense of the imagination. But it's this constant, oh, we've got to change it, we've got to fix it. Fix what? Fix what? It's just it's stupid.
And another thing, I just think it just reiterates like how much change like needs to come now, though. Like, you know, you got to make sure that, you know, if you talk about some of the stipulations that you can put onto these owners, you know, there needs to be the amount of percentage that they're allowed to own. You know, the fans need to own some of the club. Let the fan, that, you know, they try and pacify the fans. There's a lot of big fan groups out there, and you know, the Manchester United Supporters Trust do great things, and you know, they're involved to a certain extent. But you know, they were kept out of the loop of this. Bring the fans and the fan forums and stuff into the boardroom. Let them have their say. Let them have input, and that would come if they own 51% of the club, should I say? You know, what about things like salary caps or things like that? You know, that is something we could probably take from America if we were going to be critical. Just trying to even things up a little bit. You know, no one's saying that there's an issue with you know, the big clubs bringing in big revenue, which actually does help the rest of the league. The reason why the promoted teams can get so much money, and the team that even goes down gets a parachute payment, the reason why that happens is because of the money that the big clubs attract, and that it's getting distributed. Not always fairly, but a lot of the time it helps them. It helps them. What this was proposing was the complete opposite of that, to take them away. But those are some of the reforms that we need. But the massive one there is the percentage of what they can own. You can't, there has to be change now. Now that, like I said, now the grenade's been thrown and it's blown up and we need to rebuild it anyway. Get in there now and change it. When you're rebuilding it, change the different type of bricks that you're going to use. Get different glazing windows, get different roof tiles, get different materials while you're rebuilding it.
Well, yeah, and because if fans were involved in, you know, any form of the boardroom process or whatever, this Super League, it wouldn't even made it past a concept. If someone even said the idea of to a fan representative, they go, no, absolutely not. And we wouldn't have even had any of this drama. It would have been just such a non-discussion. We wouldn't have had all of this craziness, because they would go, no, it's ridiculous, stupid, get rid of it. And that would have been it. That would have been it. And that proves once again proves the importance of having a form of, like I said, if it's the 51% rule or some form of fan representation at that level, because the fans are just as much as the lifeblood as these owners think that the revenue streams are. Because without the fans, it's nothing. Matt Busby. Okay, that's it.
Nothing. Yeah. Bill Ingram says, Flex it. Would it be a good idea to keep the same merit-based qualifications but use the ESL format of tournament to ensure more big games are played in the Champions League to generate more revenue? I don't think so, Bill, in my opinion, because that's another thing about this, that you know, it wasn't just the fact that, you know, to top it all off, the thing about the relegation and the promotion not being there was just a madness. Basically, it was only open to a closed set of clubs. But on top of that, even the notion of playing these teams week in, week out is crap. And then the ones from our own league, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool, you know, we're playing against them in the league twice a year each. Then we're going to go in this thing and play them every week. And then the novelty, where's the novelty? And it's not fair for the other teams as well. It's just not fair. David Naheen says, Flex, you missed my super chat, but it's straight. But bottom line is, we got, apologies for missing your super chat, David. Sorry, man. But the bottom line is, we've got the Glazers on edge. We have to all stay together and push them out. Hashtag the deli guy. The deli. There's a guy who always comes on the streams. He always puts a super chat. He works in the deli cutting the meat, and nice. And he just always puts a super chat. Big up, man. Big up yourself, Dave. So yeah, I mean, that's what it is, isn't it, Owen? Like the reform that needs to happen from this, like it has to happen now. Like you've got to get involved and change it now.
We can't be content. We can't be content with what we've got. You know, we can't be content of we're just happy that we got this. We're happy that we got the Super League to stop. and we're happy that everything's going to go back to normal. As we mentioned, the grenade's been thrown, the stone's been thrown, whatever analogy you want to use, this has to serve as a catalyst. But if we wait too long, then suddenly, it's human nature. People start to focus on other things. Governments start to focus on other things. This is what people are talking about now. So change has to happen now.
It does. And if there's too much procrastinating with this, it won't have the same effect. It really won't. Because if we talk a good game now, and then as soon as we get back to football, because we've been away from it so long and we're just happy to be there, I can see real big issues. What do you think now, though? This is maybe to steer it to a little bit more of normal football. Actually, before I do that, there's a bunch of super chats just come in, and I was going to read these out. Chris Pankhurst says the Glazers should be forced into giving 51% back to the board. No more dividends until the debt is paid. They should pay 150 mil per season or leave. That would be amazing. FPL Nelson, big up, says it's been a long time, but I hope all is well. We have momentum now, so we can't stop until the Glazers go. I agree. Big up yourself. I hope you're well as well, bro. Army of Footsack says, I'm sure if it was a 50+1 model, the fans will be responsible for the majority of the debt of the club. The Glazers will destroy your club. Michael Selby says, need to start talking to your MPs. Gary Neville did touch on that. And Joshua Cox has become the latest member of the United Stand Members Club as well. So big up yourself as well, Joshua. I think... Sahaj says, are you just so naive not to see what needs to be fixed? Exponential player, agent fees, inflated transfer prices, even in a pandemic, economic instability of all the clubs owing to massive debts. That's what we've been talking about, Sahaj. That's literally what we've been talking about. And another super chat here, Bill Ingram, we've read that one as well. Yeah, sorry, over to you, Owen.
So I was distracted by the super chat. What was the original point?
I forgot what I was saying. I forgot what I asked you. Joy, what did I ask him? I forgot. Yeah. Just quickly here as well. Viad says at least Liverpool board had the tenacity to apologise to the fans. Our board don't have any tenacity to apologise to the fans. The fans are the real heroes. There should be serious penalty for the people associated. And Consumer Hot says, if we get rid of the Glazers, I will eat Phil Jones's bum. Which is very nuts. Wow. Yeah, look, guys, just to kind of finish off though, I'm gonna finish off about the protest though, man, because I just can't stress how important it is. Like, we want to do our bit. This isn't about point scoring. This isn't saying we're the leaders. This isn't saying look at us, look at me. I'm going to be there. You're not. What are you doing? It's not about that. It's just about coming together. That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. And I'll be really proud to go up there and see us in full voice and speaking to fans as well and seeing how they're feeling and again push that back out through the United Stand. That's our job, to convey how the fans are feeling on a big level. We have a big platform. We've got over 1 million subscribers. God knows how many people watch this, and I think it's important to convey the feelings of those fans. So if you are up there, come find me, or I'll come find you. I'll be there, and come and have your say, man, because this has been a really tough a few days. It feels like it's going to be. It feels like it's been ages. It feels like this has been like a whole week, innit? Like, we haven't spoke about football for ages, and we got a game the next day after that as well. I haven't even thought about a game. It feels so weird, but we will be live up there covering that as well. And bringing you guys some content from up there as well, because I think it's important to reflect it. I want you guys who live far and wide away from Old Trafford to get a feel of how everyone's feeling, know that people are there fighting for you if you can't make it there. And if you are there, you can get your voice heard. You know, that's what I want my job to be. I'm not up there to be the main man or to say that we're doing that. I'm up there to just do my bit and help. If anyone wants me to help while I'm there with doing something, I will help. I'm there to offer my help and be there and stand united with anyone else that wants to be there and help. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, guys. Owen, big up. Always a pleasure. Like I said, my other partner in crime.
Yeah, two-timer.
Yeah, my other partner in crime. Guys, we'll see you soon. We'll see you soon. Mark will be back on tonight with another video. I don't know if I'll be doing one day. We'll be back on this evening as well for sure. Yeah, see you on Saturday. But I'll be on here before then. But in person, see you on Saturday. We are out.